You're good?
Oh, as gold.
Playing hard, playing tough, just playing good. It's not good enough. We're gonna show you what league's all about. If there's a lesson to be learned, we're handing it out. This game is our game. This town is our town. Turn the heat up and listen to the crowd.
Good evening and welcome to the Joust. My name is Nagy. I'm here as always with my co-host Liam McNeil. Liam, you're looking a little bit better this week? Feeling a little bit better?
I'm feeling a bit better, although I am feeling slightly guilty, Jousters. I must apologise for that. I didn't have my hat on, and as a result, you've now seen what lies under my hat, and it's terrible.
Oh, look, considering a lot of other people at this age, you're hanging on to a lot of the growth there.
That's it. At least, it speaks to a full head of hair, but still, I'm not proud of that, Jousters. I apologise. I'll be getting it sorted next week.
It's getting unruly. Mine's getting long too.
It's gorgeous.
You forget. You always say my hair looks good.
It does.
Every time I ask you how I look, it's redundant because you say gorgeous every time.
Well, it's true. You're gorgeous inside and out.
Well, I love it. I love, but at the same time, if there's something actually wrong with me, also point that out.
Oh, I'll never tell. I'll never tell, Nagy.
Now, Liam, there is nothing. There is no game to review. We're coming off the bye. We got the 2 points.
That was a tough one, though. We were, struggling through it.
It was a real arm wrestle, wasn't it? But like in truth, it's good that we had the bye coming off the game of the Bulldogs just to regroup, recalibrate, and especially gives them an extra week to whatever they decide with the switching around, because this week Friday night game, which I only realised is it's not the Graveyard. I assumed,
isn't it?
No. We got
my word!
We've got the 10 to 8.
That's the television game.
The
second television game.
Where, not us, but the Knights, which I say we're
a pretty important part of the whole organisation.
I'm going to be part of the I'm going to be on the telly.
I didn't know that. Yeah. That's wonderful. Isn't that great, Knights fans? Finally getting some bloody recognition.
I think it might be the only time. I think we had that Sunday game.
Yep, we had the Sunday game
at Easter, and then now we got one Friday.
Yeah.
So traditionally we mess this up and throw away the opportunity, but hopefully we don't.
Let's hope.
There's Parramatta game, we got Mitchell Pearce coming back and also Daniel Safidi.
Now, yes, we heard from Tony Ayoub today, came out and said some stuff on the internet, which sounded very positive. Mitchell Pearce, our captain, fearless leader, he's in full unrestricted training. This is his first week of unrestricted training, and the call will be left to Mitchell. The call will be left to him whether or not he does play against Parramatta, and I think he will absolutely.
What do they say about Daniel Safidi?
Yes.
He's in.
I think they said he's back. He's running more quickly than they'd expected, and I think there's some hopping and jumping.
Around on the leg? On the
on his foot, which apparently is good.
Oh, so I thought you meant, when you said hopping, I thought he was favouring his good foot.
No. Hopping's part of the exercise. I think they do hopscotch as a bit of a recovery tool for his particular injury, the Elizabeth Banks.
Well, don't we all?
We do.
I
just do it purely recreationally.
I remember hopscotch being incredibly easy as a child. When you reach an adult, that's where the challenge begins. There's a lot of coordination, a lot of different moving parts going on.
You guys probably don't know this. You wouldn't see this as much as I do, but now we're avid scotchers.
Yeah,
that's what we call ourselves inside the hopscotch community. We can scotch with the best of them.
Semi-professional scotchers. Yeah. That's about all we're good at. Now, Liam, there's also we got Nathan Ross. Is he coming back? Did Tony mention Nathan?
I believe Nathan Ross will be coming back as well. So I would expect him to come in. For Corey Dennis.
You'd think, Dennis Pennis himself.
Dennis Pennis, the man who rhymes with menace.
Menace, yeah. He's, I just want to see some real improvement. And just the amount of experience coming back in there. You got about 50 games to Safidi, about 50 to Ross. And
about 1,000 for Mitchell Pearce.
About 1,000 for Mitchell Pearce. So... But also, Mitchell Pearce is coming back undone, and you got to have realistic expectations. I think everyone's thinking Pearce, great, remembers that Tigers game, remember the 2 try assists, the try and the try assist, and think, yep, he's just going to come and control. But he's playing. He's going to be coming back into a side that he hasn't, actively played with much. Obviously, without Ponga there, which took a lot of the heat off him. It's going to be interesting. How do you see the game rolling out?
Look, I think it's going to be a toughie. Para showed last week against St. George that they can play football, they just can't win. And the week before they had the win against the Cowboys, which showed that they can't play football because that was a terrible game, but they could win. So I don't know what to expect. Do we get a great Parramatta team coming up the F3 or the M1 or whatever we call it these days? Whatever it is, the road.
The long road.
Yeah, the long road. Are they going to come up out of Western Sydney and play wonderfully and we beat them? Or are they going to come up and be terrible but beat us? I don't know. I kind of was really looking to that Bulldogs game for a bit of inspiration, a bit of confidence. I was kind of thinking, look, these are teams in the bottom. We're no longer in the bottom. We should beat these teams. And Parramatta are literally the bottom of the ladder.
The bottom of
They're
the bottom.
the worst that you can be at the moment in terms purely of competition points and your standing in the NRL currently. Not to speak of them off field or their players, but in the literal sense, they are the worst.
They're the bottom.
They are the bottom.
And we're off the bottom.
Slightly
Off the
bottom.
bottom.
So I kind of saw that Bulldogs game as a real yardstick to see how we're going to go shaping up against these lower ranked teams.
Yeah.
Didn't fill me with a lot of confidence, but I think the bounce back effect will hopefully come into play. It'll be a close one, though. I'm thinking Knights by 8.
Oh, interesting.
Is that a close game?
Well, it depends how many points are scored.
Yeah,
If it's 8-0, I guess 8 means a lot. But I just want to see the Knights really, we have had a string of home games, and we've done poorly pretty much at every one of them. And so it'd be nice just to have finish on a high, because this is their 5th in a row and we've lost their last 4.
I'll be happy to finish on a high.
Yeah. So we've still got a third of this season to play. There's still lots of football to happen. But it needs to start now. If we can't beat Parramatta, we're really working backwards here.
Who's the eel wrangler for you, Nagy? Who is it that takes this game by the scruff and really holds the Eels down?
Well, you'd like to think it's Pearce, but I'd like to see Connor Watson do his thing with not having to worry about also direct the game around. If there's... He was doing so much in Bulldogs, and he looked dangerous. And I think he's probably been on for a while. He's probably looked really good for a while, but it's just been that last... he's done all the hard things right, and then that easy thing, to throw, and throws it on the deck. I think those passes stick. Suddenly, he's a very informed player, I find. It's going to be interesting to see. Obviously, the squad will be out when this episode comes out, but whether he drops back to fullback, if they bring in Nick Meaney, see what happens. But I really think all he needs to do is do what he's good at, is catch the ball and run. So
he does well.
Which he does well.
When he does it well, he does it very, very well.
What about you? Who's going to be the fisherman for
Look,
the Knights?
I think Big Dan. I think our man Dan is going to come back, and he's going to absolutely storm through. We saw last time we played Parramatta, he was unstoppable. He was the best player on the field. And I think, with Herman working as hard as he can, trying to lead from the front, and no one really following him, I think Big Dan's got a lot to prove, that this is a forward pack. It's not just let's rely on one prop. And I feel like Dan's going to come out, if he does come back from injury, fingers crossed, touch wood and pray to God.
Yeah.
If he does come out and play, he will, I think, have a barnstormer just quietly. I know he listens to the show, so Danny boy, you got our vote, mate.
Fingers crossed. But Liam, there's another game on this week before the Friday night game.
Yes.
It's the series Clencher.
Clincher. Not
Which-
clencher. That's
Clencher-
something you do in your Kegels, Nagy.
It was funny that we mentioned Clincher, because that also is today's word of the week.
Word of the week, Nagy. Excellent word.
Clincher.
Oh, clencher? Or
Clencher. Well, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what Ellie.
We'll fix it in post.
Well, whatever it pops up.
Yeah, we'll
that's
fix
what
it
it
in
was.
post. That's our word of the week.
That's our
Thanks
word
for
of-
playing, by the way.
We love all the ones playing at home. Now, Liam. So, possibility to have a clean sweep. First time it's going to be possibly done since 2000.
2000, and what a series that was. Nagy, I feel a sense of relief that
Yeah.
I haven't felt in so long. I didn't really feel it in 2014.
No.
I was still scared. I was still terrified. Game 3 of 2014 really put me in my place. But I'm going into this much more... confidence, the wrong word, but
Yeah.
I'm excited about a game 3. I'm excited. I don't care if it's dead rubber or whatever. I feel anew. This Origin series has refreshed me, and I feel like a new man.
Yeah, and you should, because obviously Cooper Cronk won't be playing, Cameron Smith won't be playing, Billy Slater will be there, no Ponga, but also Daly Cherry Evans, which has just proven to be cancer for the Queensland side up until this
And the
point.
Manly side.
And the Manly side.
And everything he's ever been involved with, seemingly.
So they've been calling out for why hasn't Cherry Evans got a look in? Now he has. They've dropped Hunt back to the bench, so they're sort of hedging their bets there. But I think this is Queensland side that's sort of
They don't know what they're doing.
There's no plan.
It's just such a strange thing to bring Cherry Evans in game 3 when Kevy Walters came out early in the series and said, "Oh no, Ben Hunt's my halfback." And you lose 2 games, pretty close ones, albeit, and he says, "Ben Hunt, you're my halfback, but you dropped."
Yeah.
And now Daly's my halfback, but Ben, you're still my halfback. That's really got to mess with the team cohesion, Nagy, I would think.
It's going to be odd. I'm not really sure what they're going to be trying to do differently than obviously they've got Cherry Evans on the side, but up there they do grow an extra leg. They've all got 3 legs. and
They've
two-
already got the extra head, so they just
They've-
grow the leg now.
They've got body parts coming out. Something in the water up there. There's just growing arms
Lead.
out their neck. I think it's the lead.
lead in the water.
Oh, that can't be good for you.
No. If anything, it's quite detrimental.
Do you know they used to drink? One of the things to cure syphilis was to drink mercury.
Yeah, mercury.
Yeah.
Well, that's Lewis and Clarke, the famous American explorers who discovered much of the Americas. They reckon that you can identify where their breaks were, where they stopped to camp, because they found mercury in the soil from them pissing, because they were a syphilitic mess.
Okay.
They all had syphilis.
Wow. Didn't know that.
Yeah,
Just
so
full
now
of,
you know.
full of facts.
Yeah.
Oscar Wilde apparently had syphilis, so he used to cover his mouth when he laughed.
Oh, it's a ravaging disease. I watched a
it was-
documentary about it the other day.
Not
It's
that it was
terrifying.
because it had the mercury stained teeth. So that's
Also,
what
it
we
makes
want-
holes in your brain, in your skull. Sorry.
It can't be good.
No, look, we're not in favour of syphilis here. We'll be doing some charity work in the off season with the Anti-Syphilis League.
Syphilis Australia.
Yeah,
is
Syphilis
that-
Australia.
Is that,
SA.
is that a thing? Surely.
It should be.
It should
It's
be.
a disease that's ravaging our world.
Speaking of ravaging, Liam, now there was lots of things. Sorry,
No, I just clasped it for security.
You were clasping Liam,
Yeah.
but there was lots of things happening this week in a little segment I like to call the news. Lots of things making news this week. Now, Liam, it was very interesting on the Knights front. I want to just kick off here
Yes.
because there was a... Earlier in the week, we got told that Brock Lamb has been shopped around. He's not going to be offered another contract, despite what Brownie was saying earlier in the season. He's saying, and obviously not been relegated to reserve grade, hasn't played since the Titans, broke his cheekbone, still in the Titans, and he's going to be shopped around. But then today, there was a bit of news, which might be debunked by the time this comes out, but it was definitely got everyone talking, that Connor Watson was also going to be shopped around.
Yes. Now, that news came out, I think, yesterday or today or some day. But further to the Brock Lamb story, there was an interview with his manager, Gavin Orr. Now, Gavin says to the Newcastle Herald, I think it was, that it's unlikely that Brock Lamb will stay at the Newcastle Knights, because apparently Gavin's been in contact with them and said, look, we want this much money for Brock. And they said, oh, I don't think you're going to get that. Sorry, Gavin. And that seems to have been the end of it. He said he hasn't been approached by the Knights. There's been no offer put by the Knights for the services of Brock Lamb. So it is looking, as the headline read, very unlikely that Brock Lamb is going to stay in Newcastle, which it's a doozy. He did, show some really good form in some tough times, but, this year I just feel like he's been a bit off. I don't think he's lived up to his potential.
Yeah.
So that'll be a tough one to lose, I think. A player with potential, but at the same time, he's kind of under-delivered this year.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because he started his season on the bench. If that's how much that Brownie wanted him inside, that they were willing to start him on the bench. And playing with Pearce, he seemed to have a reasonable role. He took the pressure, kicking pressure a little bit off, and he was only playing 20 minutes a game, or sometimes even 15. And while we were winning, it seemed like the masterful plan. I think we were even raving about it ourselves.
We were, and in fact, I don't remember that, but I sure we did.
Yeah, raving like the lunatics in which we are. But now it's like if he comes back in the side, people wanted Cogger, and like first it was interesting. He was like, oh, thank God we got Lamb, and then Lamb didn't step up in times needed, and was like, well, at least we got Cogger for this season. Then Cogger has been everyone's least favourite player. Sorry, Jack, but it hasn't been. You haven't been well received.
But you've been trying your best.
You've been
Jack.
trying your best.
That's all we can ask.
It's just. But anyway, look, and then now Brock Lamb. No one we've been there, done that. We don't want Brock. Look, we don't really want Jack either. We want someone new, and we're quite happy to watch them go. But at the beginning of the season, everyone was pining after him to stay. Please stay, Brock. There's we shouldn't have signed Pearce. We should have stuck with Brock. These were the kinds of things people were saying.
I forgot people said that. They did. That wasn't very smart.
Well, look at it now. It's he got his opportunity. He didn't really make the most of it. He probably has about. He might get another one, but then he'd be playing for a contract. So, but obviously he's not going to be staying with the Knights next year. It's something that Knights fans, much like myself, because I am one, I have trouble with letting go and change.
It's hard.
And I know no one likes it, and everyone doesn't want to see a player that they go, oh, he's going to be great, go off, and it's been time and time again where they go off and they play really well for another team,
which I can see happening to Brock Lamb. So I think we'll see over the last 8 rounds will be basically Brock Lamb playing for a contract. And
if he makes it
that could be the spark up his bottom that he needs. That's not a saying. Sorry, no, the kick up the bottom that he needs. No one put fireworks up Brock Lamb's bottom.
Leave his bottom alone. It's just going to be interesting to see what kind of Brock we get if we see him back on first grade. But then again, reserve grade's not setting the house on fire down there.
They're not. They're absolutely not. But again, I see a lot of potential in him, so I would not be unhappy if he were to sign a further 3 years, play a bit of a supporting role, learning from Mitchell Pearce, playing a bit of that utility, I guess. I don't know. It's a toughie. It's a doozy.
Well, this is interesting you say this, Liam, because it's in a new segment that we like to say, and it's called Buy, Sell, Keep.
Buy, Sell, Keep.
Buy, Sell, Keep.
Excellent segment.
Brand new to the news. And Liam, it's going to be interesting because off the back of Brock Lamb saying he's going to go and he's been looking around, and then now Connor Watson, which is just the rumours from the Mole, so take it with a grain of salt.
Which I've just remembered was the second part of your question that I completely forgot to address. My apologies, Nagy.
No.
Apparently, it's already been debunked.
Look, I'd still these things come from somewhere.
They come from somewhere.
And
where there's smoke, there's fire, Nagy.
And there's often more smoke.
Yeah.
So there's it got momentum today, and it was really interesting watching everyone just sort of buy it immediately and go, yep, look, obviously he's going. Why is he going? Oh, then people come out and say, well, he hasn't been living up to expectations. So, Liam, if you had a choice, now we'll start with a buy.
We'll start with a buy. So to explain this for listeners at home, what we're proposing is a player that we each think the club should buy. Secondly, a proposal for who the club should sell. Thirdly, we will be proposing a current member who the Knights should keep.
Now, this is assuming that all these contracts will say are for 4 years. And now, if they're currently already contracted, and you think, well, surely, for the keep, we've already contracted them 4 years. Contracts don't actually mean much these days.
Not a thing. They're not worth the paper they're written on.
When the value of a player goes up, the contracts seem to mean nothing, and everyone gets homesick. So it's going to be that when we say keep, buy, sell, it just means 3 years. We got to focus on that. If it's sell, we want them to go on before the end of their contract.
For me, Nagy, TPJ. It's TPJ and TPJ only. Tavita Pangai Jr. from the Brisbane Broncos.
I thought that was just a telephone service, TPJ.
No, that's TPG. Excellent customer service, by the way. I was with TPG for quite a while.
They're not around anymore, are they?
I hope they are.
Anyway.
Because I should like to go back to them one day. But yeah, I think Tavita Pangai Jr., he's coming off contract from the Brisbane Broncos at the end of this season.
Yeah.
He has expressed a desire to stay and play for Wayne Bennett. But he is a Newcastle junior. He loves the area. Was famously when Brisbane played at Marathon, he put up a Instagram, I believe it was, of I love Newcastle. It's brilliant. Picture of the beach. He misses home. So for me, we throw the kitchen sink at Tavita Pangai Jr., give him whatever he wants because he's in unbelievable form. He's the kind of aggressive, angry, front-rowing bastard that we need in the squad. And he's still young. He's got so much footy ahead of him. I think he would be a phenomenal buy and someone that the Knights just need to give everything to. Give him the keys to the city. I don't care. He's the kind of bloke you want in your forward pack. Now, how about you, Nagy?
Well, for me, it's interesting you said forward pack because for me, I think there's a player out there that's probably not getting the time that he might get if he was playing for the Knights. Another big body that just does something well. James Tarmow for Penrith Panthers, someone that was playing Origin only 2 years ago.
Aussie Jim.
And then because he's played for New Zealand and
Palmerston North.
And then and there's I just
South
think
West.
I think he's just got football left in him. I think he does a job. I think he would benefit from just probably not trying to be that enforcer, just trying to, we're definitely going to miss some experience within their front row stocks with both Safidis and Glasby's coming into the side. But I think we need another big head. And
he does have an enormous head.
He does, and a big body to match it. So especially now that we lost both Safidis and that we've left this hole in the front row stocks, and Josh King doesn't seem like he's quite there yet as far as being a dominant starting front rower. So I think James Tarmow has some great value in him, and I think why not make a play?
I like it. I like it a lot. The other one that's just come into my mind.
Sorry, just on another one. Obviously, with losing Brock Lamb, we've got to get someone else to fill the 5'8" halfback stocks. Now we could go for someone like that's barely making first grade, that's had some first grade experience, and pray for a bargain, like a Jackson Hastings, for example.
Yeah.
But I think we go on the opposite end. Someone that's more experienced, someone that's going to have to play for their career and really work their way in. And they either play and get in, or within a year they'll be relegated and worth nothing. And a player that I think is going to be that is Blake Austin.
Now, Nagy, you mentioned this in the car.
I did.
I'm not proud to admit this, but I did have a little giggle. I dismissed you immediately, Nagy, which was very rude. Tell me your piece. Sell me on Blake Austin.
I just think he's either a make or break kind of a player. If you had him in the side, you let the 2.58s, if there was 2.58s still fit, compete for it. He either is going to complement the side or he's worth nothing. He's at that stage in his career that he's coming off the bench currently. He played some Mounties, I'm pretty sure.
He did, yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see whether he goes. If his stocks rise or stocks sink. Is that what they say in the they sink?
I've never been to the stock exchange. I don't know.
It's just going to be interesting. I say give it to someone like that that's going to be really desperate rather than giving someone that's really young and saying, oh, look, he's learning. He's only got 3 games of experience. It's like, screw it. Let's just, spend a bit more cash.
And at his best, Blake Austin is a pretty damn good football player.
Yeah.
Just today, I was watching the highlights video of a game against Newcastle in 2015, I think. He scored a hat trick within the opening 8 minutes. I think that's pretty impressive. That's pretty good. And he has showed in the past that he can be a really effective player. He's just a bit erratic, bit all over the place. He's down on form at the moment. But if he could harness Blake Austin correctly, and I feel like Brownie would get a lot out of him, I would hope. But yeah, that's one I hadn't thought about, Nagy. And yeah, I think you're winning me over, mate. But on that same point, now that you brought up halves, I've got one more.
I've also got a used Falconer I might want to sell you as well. I can put Blake Austin in the boot.
Sold.
He can come with it now.
Plus, from all accounts, he's just a phenomenal guy to have around the club for community work. He's just a great guy. Great player. There was one story, he drove on the way to a Canberra game. He was driving to the game. He saw a poor lady standing at the bus stop, freezing cold, in her Canberra jersey. Just pulled over and gave her a lift. Huh. He's just a wonderful guy. To that same point, though, there is another young half coming off contract at the end of this year who could be a very, very good buy in terms of a depth half signing, and that's young AJ Brimson from the Gold Coast Titans. He's found his combination with Ash Taylor after the kind of Kane LG misfiring earlier in the year.
Yeah.
And he's been excellent. He's a really good running 5'8", so could complement Mitchell Pearce really well. Similar mould to Connor Watson. Really hard runner, stocky, breaks tackles, can play fullback. He could be a very good signing, but then you'd be in a situation you have kind of 2 players doing a similar role with Connor Watson. So for me, TPJ is the big one. Also, David Clemmer has come out and said that he will leave Canterbury if the club needs him to, but apparently he's non-negotiable. Canterbury aren't letting him go. Yeah,
and also that's a prime example of this is my stock at my highest. I'm worth probably the most valuable player in the club. I want more money from either the Bulldogs or someone else.
And I don't think Canterbury will tolerate a release, so I don't think that's happening. But that would be great.
So who would you? I'm just going to say keep. I'm going to go keep.
Oh, we're going to keep?
We're
going to sell.
Who would you keep now, Liam, for the next 3 years? And you think we got to throw the bank at this guy because we have to keep him?
Well, I was looking through our contract list, and Brownie and Darren Moons have already done a pretty good job of shoring players up. There's not too many big names off contract at the end of the year. The one for me, I'm going beyond 3 years, Nagy. I'm saying a 5-year deal to Lachlan Fitzgibbon.
Oh, damn it,
he's contracted till the end of 2020. Well, it's like, again, sharing one brain, 2 men. Yeah. He's contracted till the end of 2020, but he's shown that he has such a future at the Knights. He loves this club. He loves what he does. He's very good at it. He's got such a huge future. I give him a lifetime. Put him on one of those contracts that they've got Brownie on now and just say, just keep playing until you're bad.
Yeah, and then
we'll deal with that then.
I think it takes 3 sort of prongs to. I think you need a forward, I think you need a back, and then you need a good dominant half. And
what was that, Nagy? It takes 3 prongs
or pongs.
I'm sorry.
Hashtag pongstrong. It's going to be really interesting because I think Ponga is that player that back, that's just that lively back. The halfback obviously is Mitchell Pearce, someone that we can really get behind for the next few years and really build a side around. And then someone in the forwards, I think it's Lockie Fitzgibbon. I think someone that can play 80 minutes in the forwards and scores tries. I think, he's about where you would see someone like Boyd Cordner was a few years ago. And I think he's only going to get better. He's only going to get bigger and stronger, I think. He's
the next Steven Simpson, wouldn't you say, Nagy?
I'd say, he's the way that he was playing at the beginning of the season when the Knights were winning, he was playing, you had to compare him to someone like a Boyd Cordner.
Will he be back for Parramatta? Does the bye count as a suspension?
No.
Oh,
no. And they ruined that with Mick Crocker with the playing, listing reserve grade so they could play first grade.
Oh, that's cheeky.
Yeah,
was that at Melbourne?
I can't remember.
Habitual cheaters.
I think it was Rabbits. They quickly closed that loophole. Now, Liam, who are you selling?
Who am I selling? Look, for me, at Dennis Panis. I know he's young. He's got a lot of potential. But with the way we're purchasing outside backs and centres, I feel like Corey Dennis's role in the squad is kind of diminishing.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I do.
Yeah, but again, there's so much potential there. There's so much to offer, but
Get rid of him.
with the
Throw
way it's shaping up, I don't know if there's room for him in that 30-man squad.
Put him in the bin.
I was just going to say maybe help him find another club and a new place to do his job, but you reckon bin?
Put him in the bin. There's a few players that really got to stand up in the next couple of rounds when they come back, in their next opportunity. But I really want to see more out of these players. I'm not saying, even though I set the parameters and saying sell them, put them in the bin was probably a bit much because that was your suggestion. But I think SKD needs to step up, and I really think we really got to get some more out of him, and he needs to be playing as if he's playing for that really good side. And I know he didn't get any ball, but I think someone like Edric Lee coming to the side, you're like, why do we have all these, why do we have all these backs that are approaching 30? Other is Jacob Safidi. We've got two of them, So and Daniel seems to be playing better.
But that's the thing. We're only paying for one of them. It's just it's the same contract.
Yeah,
They look the same. You can't tell the difference. What man amongst us could say, I'm going to pay two people, but I don't know which one's which? How would you pay them separately?
There's also something that has to go in the I think between Danny Levi. I don't think there's a side with two. I don't think there's a side with two hookers. I think either Danny or Slade. And Danny already made a thing to go earlier in the season, and he got refused. But look, I think we've got too many hookers, and none of them are owning that role as well as Slade is.
That's the classic Maitland Road problem in Islington.
Too many hookers.
Too many hookers. None of them are owning the strip though.
Time to open your sack, Liam. How apt was that?
You forgot the fourth one.
I
Oh,
forgot
there's
the
more
fourth.
news to go back to after the sack as well,
Yeah.
Maggie. If we get time.
If we get
time. Now, Sackers, we've got some big ones this week, so I'm reading them off the phone. So, thank you very much for your input as well. As usual, excellent stuff, guys. Gavin Morton, dear friend of the show, asks, is Jerome Luai the best player in the NRL?
I don't think so.
Well, Gavin, I would say that you should direct that question to a Penrith Panthers podcast.
Yes, but
Apparently he had a good game.
Gavin's a bit of a mountain man, though, isn't he?
He is. I saw him just last week wearing his beautiful Penrith Panthers hoodie, actually. It's stunning. It's a classic licorice all sorts, but in a zip-up hoodie. It's, the white stripes and that's basically Sawtell Panthers jumper.
He's a bit of a licorice all sort himself.
Yum, yum.
Yummy,
But yes,
yum.
now I think, Gavin, you've clearly forgotten the name of a certain young bloke playing for Newcastle. That's the Pong. I forgot. Did we change the sound back?
No, yeah, we'll change it back.
We changed it back. Sorry, listeners. We'll workshop that through the week.
We'll fix that in post.
We'll fix it in post. Now, Billy Bennett asks, will Ponga, funnily enough, that we mentioned him, will Ponga's number one jersey be safe next year with the arrival of Edric Lee?
Yeah, look, I think the jerseys that are going to be put under pressure are the two wing spots. I think Ross will go back to wing. Edric Lee's going to put pressure on him as well as SKD. They're the two that are, really going to feel the pinch as far as having Edric Lee in the side because he's a specialist winger. I think he has played some centre before, but I think you'll get the best out of him on the wing.
Did play a bit of fullback at Cronulla and did very well.
Yeah, well, but I don't think anyone's got much pressure on Ponga. If he continues playing as 80% of what he's done, and he's just one of those players, I think you'd be mad. You let Ponga play where Ponga wants to play. That's what I kept saying before.
Absolutely, and I agree with you. You let Pong do what Pong wants to do, and he'll do it well. He'll deliver, and he'll make us all rich in the process. It'll be wonderful.
I think there's another question from Daniel Turner.
There is. Thank you very much, Daniel. This is a good one too. This has got a fair bit of meat to it. So, Daniel.
Yes.
We asked, obviously, our listeners to provide best and worst player. Daniel says best player, to state the obvious, has to be Ponga. Looks dangerous every time he touches the ball. Worst player. Now, Daniel's got a big call to throw out here. Pretty much anyone who has played in the halves since Mitchell was injured for two reasons. One, fact that when compared to Mitchell, both Cogger and Lamb are miniature and pale in comparison. They're small guys.
They're tiny.
They can't really help that, though. They were born maybe a bit shorter than others. They could maybe get some lifts in their boots, though. So, agreed, Daniel. They should have done some more cosmetic work in the lead up to appear a bit larger.
Yeah.
And two, since Piercy was injured, the quality of our last tackle options has taken a steep nosedive, which has hurt us.
It's really true.
I agree, absolutely. Especially against the last game we played, against the Bulldogs. The last tackle options were woeful. They haven't been good since Pierce was injured. And you're right, it feels like the halves have kind of, I hate to say let the team down because that puts a lot on them.
Yeah.
But when other players were, putting in the effort, trying a bit, the last tackle options just really let us down and kind of, I guess, led to some shellackings, but also a few close games where we just couldn't finish it, couldn't close it out.
It's going to be really interesting to see then, Liam. Just before we...
There's a second part to Daniel's question. Sorry, this is the third part. the lurker, shopping Watson around.
Yes.
Now, we've covered that, Daniel, so we'll move on to the next one. Do you believe it?
Yeah.
And if so, do you think the Knights officials have been on the drink, given Watson has been arguably our best half option with Pearce out?
Yeah, look, he's not going anywhere. I don't think they will, unless he's really toxic for the side. That'd be the only thing there. Liam, we have to quickly jump back to the Jamie Buhrer Award, the Covenant Jamie Buhrer Award.
The coveted Jamie Buhrer Award for the week, ladies and gentlemen. I believe we've got the footage here, which we can show. It was from the Broncos-Titans game, and it was a bit of a legend of the game. Michael Gordon, who was just absolutely levelled
shellacked
by that fella there from Brisbane, whose name escapes me at the moment.
I'm not sure who that number 2 is.
But isn't it wonderful? And Mike Gordon being Mike Gordon, he got up, bounced back to his feet and played the ball. He just did what he does, and that's... We've had some beauties this season. Yeah. It feels like for the last few years, the hits, ever since the shoulder charge was banned, the hits just haven't really been coming, but I feel like they're back this year.
Yeah.
Good technical hits, legal hits.
Legal hits.
They're coming back in force, and I love it.
Yeah, Kenny Sear had a good one against the Dogs, but that was an absolute shellacking. Yeah, one, and then he let it dry in, so I didn't want to talk about it. But it's but that was an absolute shellacking that he gave poor Flash Gordon.
Yeah, he did. I love just the return of good, hard, solid hits, and also the return of the low tackle.
Yeah,
the below the belt, under the ball. Well, no, above the belt, under the ball. So that
in the midsection.
Yeah, the return of the low tackle.
Now, Liam. State of Origin coming up on Wednesday night. Where will you be watching it?
Look, I've got to be watching it at the Commie. It's the best place to watch live sport. There's tellies everywhere. The beer's cold, and the staff are wonderful.
It's going to be a fantastic night at the Commonwealth Hotel, and hopefully watch New South Wales wrap up the series.
Whitewash.
Raise that shield. I can't wait to watch it.
It's going to be gorgeous.
It's going to be fantastic. Now, Liam, thank you for joining me once again.
Pleasure as always, Nagy.
It's, I love doing this. And next week we have a very, very special guest, 2-time premiership winner who we will reveal a little bit later in the week. But please keep your eye out for next week's very special guest. It's going to be very exciting. And if you want to catch us, look for us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter.
Pipes.
Pipe.
All the pipes.
All of them. All of those pipes. And it's going to be fantastic. And we'll catch you all next week.
Go the Blues.
Hope you have a lovely time.
Oh, great song.
Isn't it just? Tears for Fears.